We haven't talked about the drivers yet. Jenson Button, Rubens Barrichelo. Can you remember breaking the news to them and what they said? And
yeah, I think Jenson had just signed a new contract with Honda, and so in some ways financially he was pretty well off because Honda settled the outstanding contract. So he, financially he had no complaints. But of course he'd never drive, and as a Formula One driver to drop out for a season would have been risky. You get forgotten quite quickly. But there were no seats left, which was fortunate for us because I think if there had been, undoubtedly Jenson would have taken one because he couldn't take that risk. Well, Rubens was coming towards the end of his career and was probably less appealing for other teams. So he had less options anyway. I mean, Jenson had no options and Rubens had even less. So, and in some ways the timing was very fortuitous because, telling the drivers at the end of November that you don't know if they've got to drive next year. If it had been earlier, they would have found other drives and we wouldn't have had the fabulous team of drivers that we ended up with.
How important was experience for you in 2009? I mean, I guess you really needed two drivers that weren't going to crash the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, there had been some negotiations going on with Bruno Senna for the other drive. Bruno Senna had quite a lot of commercial backing, and there'd been some discussions with him. But in the end, we concluded that we wanted a safe pair of hands with Rubens, and it was absolutely the right decision because Rubens did a fabulous job that year. We went to his first few races with very few spares, certainly no spare chassis. And if either one of them had crashed, we would have been in trouble. I think it was a testament to them both that they were able to race as hard as they did and compete as hard as they could, and they just didn't do any damage. And that was so valuable to us as a team in that stage. So that was a vital element. In fact, the whole year, neither of them really did much damage at all. I think Jenson had an off at Spa, and there were one or two other minors, but they both were invaluable in the modest amount of damage they did during the year for a team which had limited resources.